Okay, good luck. The Mishnah had said on Daf Yudalid that to add on to the Azaris, actually it was Yerushalayim, the city, as we saw, they would walk around with either the king, a Navi, or in Betumim, Sanhedrin of 71. And the lashon of the Mishnah is Shtei Taidais. And we saw the other day that meant the breads, and Ubashir. And Ubezdim Mahalchin, Ushtei Taidais Achreihem. It's mashma Bezdin's in front. The Taidais are after them. B'chol Yisrael Achreihem, and Yisrael is after them. That seems to be the order of the Mishnah. Bezdin, Taidais, and then Yisrael. We're going to see in the Gemara it's not like that. So we're up to Yud Tesvav and Beis, where the lines get wide, 2 lines down. Bezdin Mahalchin, Ushtei Taidais Achreihem. L'meimra, the Bezdin Kamei Taida Aslei. You mean to tell me that Bezdin would walk in front of the Taida? V'ksiv vayelech achareihem. It says, the pasuk says, right? The pasuk says, "Vayelech achareihem Hoshaya v'chatzi sarei Yehuda," and chatzi sarei Yehuda they walk back. They walk after them. So you see that Bezdin walked after them, not in front of them. So Hachikama. Here's the way you read the Mishnah. Bezdin Mahalchin. Bezdin would walk. Ushtei Toidos Mahalachos, and the Shtei Toidos would walk. The Gross changed to the Girsta. V'chol Yisrael Achareihem. So in other words, the Toida would be in front. Bezdin would walk, and the Toida would walk, and the Toida would be in front. Bezdin, and back of Bezdin would be what? Would be Klal Yisrael. Ketzid Mahalchos. There's 2 possible ways, guys, that the Toida could go. Look at me. It could either go like this, simultaneously, one next to each other, or one in back of each other, right? Okay, so we're gonna have 2 days. How do you carry the Toidos? Ketzid Mahalchos. Reb Chia, Reb Shimon, Beribi, Chad Omer Zu Keneged Zu, walking side by side. Chad Omer Zu Achazu, one after the other. Manda Omer Zu Keneged Zu, the one that says connect each other. Hapanemius. Then when it says that the inner one was eaten and the outer one was burnt, so the inner one would be the one next to the wall. Again, if you're walking like this, so Klal Yisrael would be over here, and they would be between. They would be the Pnimi would be the one near the wall. Necheles v'achitzayna nisrefes, and the outer one would be burnt. Okay. Now Bishlei Malamanda Amar Zu. I skipped a line. Mandam azu achazu apnimius is hachtim mekarvel lebezdin. Okay, so guys, take a look. Let's say this is the wall of Yerushalayim, right? So if you're walking side by side, look, my index finger is the one that is the pnimius, right? If you're walking one back of the other, it's nothing to do with the wall. It has everything to do with the one that's next to bezdin, that's behind him. So the one number 2 in the line would be the one closest to Bezdin. That's the Pnimius, Pnim, not Pnim to the wall, but Pnim to Bezdin. Okay, that's the 2 days over here. Tanan haPnimius necheles. The Pnimius would be eaten. V'achitzonin nisrefes. Bishleim l'mandam azu achazu. The one who says one after the other. Amtula hochi Pnimius necheles. Mishum the Asya Chitzayna Kama, the first one, the Chitzayna, that's the one in front, but walking along, the Kitshala, had to be Makadish. So, fellas, we're speaking about being Makadish the area. Good. So, look at, if you're walking like this, so the first one, when it walks, it's Makadish. Memela, the second one, what would be in Makom Kedusha, it could be eaten. But the first one cannot be eaten because it wasn't Kodesh yet when it walked there. It created the Kedusha, says the Gemara. So, Elamanda Amazu Keneged Zu, they were walking side by side. Travayu Bahadiyadadi Kamakache. They're either both, so Rashi says, either eat both or burn both, but one not more than the other. So again, if you're walking one behind the other, that would give the second one we get dominance, the fact that it's walking in a Makom Kaddish that had been Mekadesh al Yidei, the first loaf. But if they're walking side by side, Mimanav Shach, it's either both Kaddish or both not. Says the Gemara, according to your reasoning, that the first one is Makadosh, the second one. You need everything, fellas. So you're telling me if you one after the other, the first one's Makadosh, you didn't have the second one. It's got to be one unit. It can't be one more than the other. You need all of these. And even Madiyama says you just need one, either the Melech or the Ur V'Tumim, or the Shivim Yachad, right? Or the Shtei Lechem. Ruthie, can I trouble you to turn on the light? Thank you. It's now. But so Lamani says one after the other. Chodmi Mekalcha. Hakol Shlei Nasis B'Chalelu Tanan. V'Afilu Madiyama Ba'achas B'Chalelu. Hani Travayu Chodem Mitzvahi. Fellas, you thought one after the other makes a lot of sense. The first one will be Makadesh, and the second one will be eaten. As a result, it's walking on a place of Kedusha. But the first one can't walk without the second one. It can't work without the second one. It's one unit. So you either all in or all out. So in other words, right now we have make no sense. If you're walking side by side, they should both be burnt or both be eaten. If you're walking one in front of the other, the same thing. It's not pshat that the second one's better than the first one because it's one unit, and the first one can't be mekadosh without the second. So we have no pshat. Why is the penimius eaten and the out one is nisrefes? Why is that? Ella Amar Rabbi Yochanan Amar Aleph Al Pinavi Necheles Al Pinavi Nisrefes. Don't look at too many reasonings. Top Rashi Chagai Sechayu Malache. This was done through these neviim. Hayu Sham. Al Pihem Beruach HaKodesh Asu. The Ein Tam B'David, Rashi says outright. The Ein Tam B'David, there's no reason behind it. Then there's no reason why the Panimis was eaten and the outside in the Srefes. Okay, we said Kol Shana Nasa B'Chol Elu. The Mishnah said. Now we had two pshatim. You need all of them. Moshe was a melech. Moshe was a navi. Moshe was in place of Rimagash B'Shim Shem Echad, and you had Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, and you had the Urim V'Tumim. Or no, you just need one of them. Now. This is taking place b'mei Ezra. Ezra is coming back from Bavel. There was no Urim V'Tumim. There was no Melech even. There was no Melech. I saw a very interesting pshat, fellas. Who allowed them to build the base of the Mikdash was Koirish. I saw a very interesting pshat. I said Koirish was the Melech, so maybe Ken Zayin is the Melech. Afal Pikein, this kind of Yiddish Kenig. But again, but Koirish is no Urim V'Tumim. So according to Mami, you need all of these. What's going on over here? Itmar, Rav Huna Amar Bichol Elu Tanan. Says Rav Huna, in order to be Magdish, you need all of them, all these things. Rav Nachman Amar Ba'achas Mikol Elu, just one of them. Rav Huna Amar Bichol Elu Tanan, Ksavar. Okay, this is the side of the sugya. Kedusha Rishayna Kitcha L'Shaita V'Kitcha L'Asad Lavai. That Kedusha Rishayna was Kitcha L'Shaita V'Kitcha L'Asad Lavai. It was always Kodesh. Okay, so what does that mean? Says Rashi. Rav Huna Amar Kol B'Chol Elu Tanan Ksavar Klaimar. V'im Yishum Kiddush Ezra Dehavi V'Bayasheni B'Loi Melech U'B'Loi Urim V'Tumim. In other words, fellas, you got a problem. Let me ask you a question. What does you need all of them have to do with Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha L'Shaita? What is? And the answer is, fellas, guys, look at me. Ezra did nothing. Since you need all these things, Ezra did nothing because he didn't have the Urim V'Tumim. Ella, so I was in Kodesh because Kitcha L'Shaita V'Kitcha L'Asad Lavai. Shmak, right? Says Rashi. Go Rashi again. V'im Yishum Kiddush Ezra Dehavi B'Bayasheni B'Loi Melech V'Loi Urim V'Tumim D'Aminim Masechta Yuma Chamisha Devarim Chasa Migdash Sheni Eish Shchina V'Arin V'Urim V'Tumim V'Ruach HaKodesh Kesava Kedusha Rishayna the David Shleima Lei Batla Lei Hutzrich Ezra LeKadesh Klum Shehu Lei Haisif Klum Ba'Eirich V'Roichev Umay the Kadesh Kidchsiv V'Amida Shtei Toides L'Zeicha Ba'alma of it. We had a whole Gemara that they stood. We saw yesterday that pasuk. That pasuk is the Zeicha Alma. So that Ezra did it was simply, guys, as a remembrance that you shouldn't just think that you just walk in here, it's Kodesh, even though it is. Now, why? Because what he did was nothing, because he had no Urim V'Tumim. So that's beautiful pshat in these two lines of Gemara. So one more time. Says Rav Huna, you need all these things, and so you don't have all these things. So how does it work? Kasava kedusha rishon kitchel shayt kitchel asalavai. The Ezra zeicha ba'alma hu David, and Ezra, what was he doing? He was doing a zeicha ba'alma, it's just remembrance. Rav Nachman Amar biachas mikol elu. Rav Nachman says one of these things. Tanan. Why? Kasava kedusha rishon kitchel shayt like kitchel asalavai. The Ezra kedusha kaddish, and Ezra was in fact infusing kedusha in the ground because there wasn't kaddish anymore; it was bottle. And afagav lo have urim v'tomim, even though there's no urim v'tomim. So you have you say this to come like us over here, but the kitchel shaita or kitchel asalave, in other whether it's bottle or not. So if you hold it's bottle, so what was Ezra doing? Nothing, guys. What was Ezra doing? Nothing. Why did he do it? Seichel ba'alma. According to Rav Huna, according to Rav Nachman, he was doing everything. You didn't have everything. You don't need everything. You just need one thing. And you had what? You had Nevi'im. Okay. Esavei Rava, who says kitchel l'shaita, kitchel l'asud lavai, l'Rav Nachman, who says no, kol shlei nasis b'chol elu. Right? It says what? Kol shenasis b'chol elu, meaning you need all of them. It says tani b'achas b'chol elu. Learn one of them. Learn one of them. Tashma, Abishol Eimer, Shnei Bitsoyin Hoyu Bahara Mishcha. There were two, Rashi says, Mirkisha, they were marshes, they were Ba'achu, they were two like swamps on Hara Mishcha by Hara Zaysim. Tachtoina Ve'el Yoina. Tachtoina Niskatsha, in the Bayis Rishon guys. They had built a wall around the bottom one, and it was Niskadish B'chol Elu, using the king, the Urim V'tumim, and the Shivim V'echad, and everything. And El Yoina, the upper marsh, it was surrounded by a wall. However, it was not Niskadish. So it comes out that the bottom one was Kodesh and the top one was not. The top one was Niskadesh, but the Oile Regel, Shaloi b'melech, Ushaloi b'orim v'tomim. Good. Tachtoina shoysa kedushasa gemura from the first bias. Ameo Oretz, Nichnasim Misham. Dama Oretz would go in there, Boichim Sham Kachim Kalim, and they would eat Kachim Kalim like because at a din of Yushalayim, that's okay. Avaloi Maisa, but they didn't eat the Maisa Sheni. Maisa Sheni. You know why? Fascinating, fellas. What does the Torah say? Asa Bishvil Teshes Asa. Give Maisa in order you should get rich. And they said that Maisa is only when it says L'fnei Hashem Elokecha. So they needed to be in front. In Yerushalayim proper, they held out here by Harazaisim, but the wall didn't have a din of the Fnei Hashem Lekecha. So therefore, they didn't eat their Maisa there because they didn't think it's going to have the positive effect that they desired. As I state in Rashi, that's why they didn't eat their Maisa Sheni there. So B'chaverim oichlin sham kachim kalim u'Maisa Sheni, and the Chaverim, they ate both there. Why? Because it had full kedusha. Again, the Amaratzim, they held you had to be L'fnei Hashem mamish. They didn't hold this marsh on Har Zaysim, even though it had the Kedusha. But the Chaverim knew better, and they ate the Ma'aser Sheni there. Okay, the Kachim, the Amaratzim ate the Kachim there because there's no special in their minds. There was no special inyan of eating Kachim Kalim. I'm not going to get rich from eating Kachim Kalim, so I might as well. El Yoina, Shaloi Hoysa Kedushasa Gemura. Amo Oretz Hoyu Nichnasim Sham V'Oichlim Sham Kachim Kalim Avaloi Ma'aser Sheni V'Chaverim Ein Oichlim Sham Loi Kachim Kalim Loi Ma'aser Sheni. Right? Umfnei Ma Loi Kitshuha. Why didn't they? Why weren't they Makadosh the upper one? Sheim Oisifin Al Ir V'Al Azaris Ela B'Melech V'Navi V'Orim V'Tomim U'B'Sanhedrin Shel Ayin Echad U'B'Shtei Toidos U'B'Shir. Okay, so guys, and it never was, so they never ate there. And this is a brisa. What does Rav Nachman do with it? This is a brisa, guys. This is the kasher of Nachman. You see clearly b'chol elu. Okay, so why were they makadosh in the first place? What did they accomplish? V'lo mikitshua, building a wall there. V'lo mikitshua, ha'amid like kitshua. You want to say they weren't makadosh? It wasn't kodesh. What do you mean? It says, why did they go ahead and surround it? It was a weak spot of Yerushalayim. So they built the wall there, not for Kedusha purposes. They built the wall there for strategic military purposes, that it should be protected. And it would have been easy to capture had there not been a wall over there. Misham. So guys, you have a problem. Who has a problem? Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, Achad b'cholelu, and they said, and clearly the Brisa says what? You need all of them. It says okay, guys, and it's important. Whether you need all of them or part of them, whether it's kedusha or not, would be predicated upon what you hold, if kitchel l'shayta, kitchel l'asalav or not. Titania, Rabbi Eliezer, Shamati. This is when they're building the Bayesheni. Shamati kishahoya boinin behechel. When they would build the hechel, asul koloyim lehechel. They would make curtains for the hechel. In other words, where the hechel would be, the walls of the hechel, they put curtains there for koloyim ma'azaros, and they put curtains by the azaros. Right? Ella, there was a difference. Shebe hechel, when they were building the actual walls of the hechel, boinim b'chutz, they would build outside the curtain. They wouldn't, here's the curtain. They wouldn't build from the inside of the curtain. They built from the outside of the curtain, as if not to go ahead and look in the hechel. But the azaros they built from the inside. Okay. Now that's what Rabbi Eliezer says. Rabbi Yeshua Shamati Shemakrivim. They would bring karbanis. Alpha pish ain bias. Alpha pish ain bias. They would go ahead and bring karbanis even though there was no bias. Oichlin kachim kadashim. Alpha pish ain koloyim. Kachim kalim ma'isa sheni. Alpha pish ain chayma. Neshe kedusha v'shoyin kitchel l'shaita. The kitchel l'asalav. So therefore, obviously, you didn't need koloyim. That's why you needed what you needed to build these walls. In other words, so l'chayra, Rav Nachman wants a taina, guys. Rav Nachman wants a taina. I have a manda omar. I can go according to. I can go according to Rabbi Eliezer. Again, what's the kasha of Nachman? According to Rav Nachman, you need all these things. According to the Brisa says before, you need all these things like Rav Huna. Rav Nachman says even one of them. All right, so l'chayra, and it was predicated upon Rav Huna said. Kitchel l'shayta v'kitchel l'asalav, and Nachman said not, and therefore one would work, right? Because you don't have one of them, right? Anyway, so Rav Nachman has a man the Yomi can go according to. He can go to Rabbi Eliezer as long as an Amori as a Tana he's holding strong. Okay. Rav Ashi Memai. How do you know? Dilma the Kuli Alma Kedusha Rishoyna Kitchel l'shayta v'kitchel l'asalav. So what was the machlokes? There was no machlokes. Umar's my the shmile kamar. Umay the shmile kamar. Pirish. Good. In other words, guys, why was our assumption that you needed the curtains to create kedusha in order to why? Because it wasn't niskadish la'asalavai, and Rabbi Yeshua is coming along and saying, no, they brought kabbanis anyway. Why they brought kabbanis anyway? Because kitchel l'shayta and kitchel la'asalavai. That's not pshat. Everyone holds kitchel l'shayta, kitchel la'asalavai. They're just reporting what they heard or what they saw. Rebbe Elazar reported that there was klayim. Rebbe Shua says no. So Rebbe Elazar, if it's kitchel l'shayta, why did you need the klayim, the curtains in the first place? If it's kodesh anyway, says the Gemara. The chitema klayim Rebbe Eliezer lamali. It's niyusa ba'alma. You don't have to see what exactly they're doing. The kahanim. You want to be a little hatzne leches. You don't have to be out in the open. Meanwhile, guys, you got a problem. Rav Nachman does not have a mandi omer. He goes according to guys. Rav Nachman to escape the brisa that said openly kitchel l'shayta kitchel l'asalav needs to find a mandi omer who says lav. This is not the mandi omer. You're not locked into saying it's Rebbe Eliezer. So we seek another mandi omer. Elohani tanoi, right? The following tanoim. Titania. Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi. Lama manu chachamim. Okay, now we're speaking, guys, le'inyan. But the Eirechayma, speaking about a walled city. Now, a walled city, there's a few halachas. One, le'inyan pidyon. You have a year to be paid it. If you're not paid it in a year, you lose it. L'tzmisus, it doesn't come back in yovel. In addition, a mitzvah is sent away from there. In addition, we send a mitzvah away from there. And le'inyan migrash, it's city migrash. Okay, now, so lamu manu chacham mes elu. They found them and they were makdish them. Al rishoines batlu mishabatla aretz, but the other ones were batal. Alma ksava kedusha rishoine kitchel l'shayta v'lay kitchel l'asalav. So l'chayr Rav Nachman has a man the Amar, right? The ones that were batal were batal. Why? Because the kedusha of David and Shlomo is gone. Urimini, unless you stira in now the Masha has a kasha. Why do you have to bring in a stira? Guys, does this price openly say that it's bottled the kedusha? It does. That's all I need. All I need is that Mada Amu says it's bottled, right? So now we're bringing in a stira, right? We're bringing in a stira. Mashaznas kasha. Why do you have to bring this in? Urminu Rabbi. It's the Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi. Elu bilvad hayu. Only these cities. Well, like Farnema Shishim Ir Kol Chevel Argov Mamlaches Oig Babasha and Kol Elu Arib Bitzuras Chaim Gavaya. They were all fortified walled cities. Why did they count these cities? The fee. They found them. Says in Kitchum, Hashta, Amin Lakaman, Light Srichlik Dusha. You didn't have to do it. So what do you mean Kitchum? Elamatsu Elu Umanum, they counted them. Velay Elu Bavad did they count? Elakol Shatala Biyadcha, Misaira, Meavasenu, Shemukefes Chaima, Mimos Yeshua Binun, Kol Mitzvahs Elu, the mitzvah of Batei Chaima and Shluach Mitzaira and Migrash, the Hegesba. Mifnei Shekdusha Rishayim the Kitcha, Shaita the Kitcha L'Asad Lavai. So now you have Kosher, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi. The first one he says it's not Kodesh. The second one says it is Kodesh. Now Rav Nachman Cher is off the hook, guys. Like the first brisa, once he has that. But in Lefon we have a stira, right? Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi says the first brisa like Kitcha, and the second brisa says Kitcha. Iba Yisema, the easiest way out, trade Tanoyim, Aliba Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi. You have Machlokes Tanoyim, what exactly Rabbi Yossi said. Iba Yisema, Chadaminayu, right? Chadaminayu, the brisa, right? Rabbi Yossi, it wasn't Rabbi Yishmael, but it was Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi Amar. It was the one that said that what? That it was Kedush Rishon, Kitchel Shaita, Kitchel the second brisa, that's according to Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, not Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi. Again, the steer is Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi. Just change the name. It's not Yishmael, it's Rabbi Elazar. So Rabbi Yishmael is the one we need. He's the one that Rav Nachman holds according to that Kitchel, the Shaita is bottle, and according to the second brisa that what is not bottle, that's Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi. The Tanya, where do you see Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi holds that? The Tanya, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, Aimer, Asher loy chayma, what's the hymn? It says loy, Sha'afa pisha ein loy, achshav. We're dashing the vav as loy as an aleph, guys, with the grace aleph, right? We're saying asher loy as if there's no wall, even though guys, if there's no wall now, once it had a wall before, it has a din about the arichayma. Why? Because kitcha l'shaita v'kitcha l'asad lavai. Okay, so we came out l'maskana, guys. We have machloikas between Rav Huna and Rav Nachman. Rav Huna says you need all these things. If you need all these things, what was Ezra doing? He was just making the zeicha ba'alma because it's not possible to magdash it because you were missing the Urim v'Tumim and the king, and according to Rashi. But the kedusha was there. According to Rav Nachman, no, he was actually being magdash it. I was missing something. You don't need all of them. You just need one of them, and they had Nevi'im to go ahead and do it. So the Gemara brings a brisa that says openly that you need all of these. That brisa obviously holds kitchel shaita v'kitchel asalavai. So we found them on the Amma that Rav Nachman is according to. It was Shmuel Reb Yossi. We asked the kasha a stira. No, it's not a stira because the second brisa is according to Reb Elazar Reb Yossi. That's what we did so far. Okay, I think we're on the base, right? Okay. Now we said that the din of Oila v'yored is only when he was tamei coming into the Azara, and he didn't know about it. Yediyah. What happens if he contracted tuma in the Azara? So let's look back at the Mishnah. Let's look back at the Mishnah. The Mishnah on Yud Daled on the base. 3 lines from the top. Yud Daled on the base. Nitma ba'azara v'nelma mimena tuma v'zocher es hamigdash. Nel mimenu migdash v'zocher tuma. Nel mimenu zeh v'shtacheve. He bows down. Or he delays the amount of time it takes to bow down. Or he goes out the long way. Chayev he b'chayev and oil v'yored. B'ksara, if he goes out the short way, pata. If he goes out the short way, pata, and then we'll get into the next thing. Okay, so now we discuss, guys. What are we saying? If he became tummy inside, and he found out about it. So he can't delay. He can't delay. He has to go out the short way. He has to go out the short way. He cannot bow down, right? He cannot bow down. What are we doing with these things? Says the Gemara. Nitma bazar v'nel mimet tumah. Tumah bazar minalan. How do you know there's a din of tumah in the azara? How do you know there's a din of tumah in the azara? So Rabbi Laza kasav echadami. One pasuk says es mishkan Hashem timei. It says lashon of mishkan. Kasav echadami ki es migdash Hashem timei. So you change the lashon from mishkan to migdash. Ukroy miyasrei, and the kroy is extra. And the chayra, so one extra pasuk will teach me, guys, teach me, right, that he's tummy going in and tummy when he's in. What do you mean? It's not an extra pasuk. I need it. The Tanya of Lezer Omer, im nema mishkan, lama nema migdash, im nema migdash, lama nema mishkan. Ilu nema mishkan, v'lay nema migdash, hayisi Omer, al mishkan yechayev, for tumah. Shein mashach b'shem and mishcha, because it had the kedusha of being nimshach with the shem and mishcha. Val migdash lo yechayev, if a tumah. Then noima migdash v'lay nema mishkan, hayisi Omer, al migdash yechayev. Why? Shari kedusha zoylam. It's forever. Val mishkan lo yechayev, because it's not forever. L'kach nema mishkan, l'kach nema migdash. So l'chayre, how could you learn out a din of being tamei inside? Now, to be mechadish a din, fellas. That an oil of yarid is not only when you go in. An oil of yarid is when you get tummy inside and you stay inside. You don't. You go out the long way. If this was your pasuk, I need the pasuk to teach me that mishkan, because there's two. Mishkan has the milah shem and mishcha, and migdash has the milah that's kedusha oilam. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Laza hachik kashlei. Here's this question. Michdi. Mishkan ikri migdash u migdash ikri mishkan. It's synonymous, as we'll see. Nichtav oy idi v'idi migdash. Be consistent. Oy idi v'idi mishkan. Mishkan and migdash lamali. Why are you changing that? Shema mino tati. You hear two things. Right? You hear that the tzricha said that they're interchangeable. In addition, you hear this tumah inside. If you're inside, you can check tumah. You can mean oil v'yored. Now, where do you know Mishkan and Migdash are called the same thing? Bishlam and Migdash dikri Mishkan d'chsev v'nasati Mishkani b'soichecham, and I'll put my Mishkan in b'soichecham. Ela Mishkan dikri Migdash minalam. Where do you know the Mishkan is called the Migdash? Ilaim d'chsev v'nasu hakahasim noisei hamigdash, and the kahasim are carrying the Migdash. Ahu barik ksev. That Migdash is not the base of Migdash. That Migdash is what is the Aron. Ela mehacha v'yasli Migdash v'shachati b'soicham. Ukasiv in the same pasuk, the next pasuk. Mishkan. Guys, v'asuli migdash. So you know it's synonymous. So that's the source. We have one place says Mishkan, one says it plays migdash. Therefore, it's extra to teach me what? That not only oil of yorid, if you go tumah inside and forget, if you tumah inside, you contract tumah inside and you go outside. Now, it said you bow down, or you delay the shear of bowing down. You bow down, or you delay the shear of bowing down. The Gemara is going to qualify. Amarava. Lo shanu ela b'ishtachava klapi pnim. The delay of ishtachava is only if you go towards the west. You know, that's towards the Kodesh Kodashim. Av ishtachava klapi chutz. If you go towards the east, shah in, lo shah loy. In other words, you need two things. You need a shtachaveh v'shah. If you go towards the west, just a shtachaveh, you'll be chayiv, the carbon oil v'yored. If you go towards the east, you need a shtachaveh. In addition, the share of shah, which we'll see in a second what exactly that is. Ikadamasti la seifa. There are those who learn this lashon on the seifa. Oishah b'chtei shtachavah, or you delay the share of shtachavah. That's the second part, guys. Mechal de shtachavah gufa boy shehiyah. It's mashma that what? You need both. Amarava, no. When do you need both? If you're going on the outside. If you're going to the inside, the west, not. To the east. If you go inside, even just hishtachva without shah. Vachi kamar. Hishtachva klape panim. Oisha kedei hishtachva bahach. Hishtachva the klape chutz. Chayev. Good. In other words, basically, I think the same thing, but you're learning different, either from the ratio or the sefer. Now, the question is, what exactly is the share of a shtachavah? When it says over here shtachava, what exactly does that mean? The share of the shtachava. Hechi dami hishtachava the ispe shehiyah, right? What exactly is Yishtachva the ispe shehiyah? Ve'echidam Yishtachva the lespe shehiyah. The lespe shehiyah zu kriya ba'alma. Just like this, guys. Kriya, like this. You bow down. The ispe shehiyah is pishut yadayim v'reglayim. You spread. You're on the floor, spreading yourself out. Okay. Now, v'kama shir shehiyah that you chayav a carbon for. Pligi bar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmeni v'chad da'amei. Umani, who is this chad da'amei? So Shimon ben Pazi. V'mila Reb Shimon ben Pazi v'chad da'amei mani Yitzchak bar Nachmeni. V'mila Reb Shmuel bar Nachmeni. Chad Omar, the share of this man of is the share. Remember the Haibasuka, the share that it says to say this pasuk. V'chad Omar, only from the point of time where it says v'yichru the seifa. In other words, guys, one says the whole pasuk, one says a part of the pasuk. What's the whole pasuk? V'chol b'nei Yisrael royim beredes ha'esh v'kover Hashem ala bayis v'yichru apayim arza ala ritzba v'yishtachvu v'hoydus l'Hashem. So you have to, how long it says to take that pasuk, that's a shir shtachaviyah. One says the whole pasuk, the other one says no, from the middle of the pasuk. Go back to the middle. V'yichru apayim arza, from that point, you pick it up. You don't say the chol b'nei Yisrael roya beredes eish. You pick it up from v'yichru over there. Okay. Tarabanon, kida. What's kida? Is alapayim. Kida, fellas, is you would just put your face to the ground. It seemed to be, we saw that Levi practiced kiyah and became a hinkadika. It seems to be a very, very hard thing to do. Your mamish, right? That means a cripple. He became a cripple as a result of it. Right? Nothing was that. Yeah, Kenny. Kenny understood. I didn't have to explain it. Anyway. That means your face gets to the ground. Kriya is al berkaim, you're on your knees. V'cheinu oimer mikroya al berkav, on your knees. Hishtachaveh, so pishu yadayim raglayim, stretching out your hands and your feet. V'cheinu oimer havoy navoy ani ve'imcha v'achecha l'shtachavaz l'cha artsa.